This question comes from Alex, who asks, what if forests covered the entire Earth?
At first glance, it sounds like a dream for environmentalists, a planet entirely blanketed in trees. But the reality would be far more complex, affecting climate, ecosystems, human civilization, and even the atmosphere itself.
Today, forests cover roughly 31% of Earth's land area. If every desert, tundra, grassland, and urban area were replaced with dense forest, we'd be adding millions of square kilometers of trees. This isn't just a minor change. It would fundamentally alter the planet's energy balance. First, the climate would shift dramatically. Forests absorb sunlight differently than deserts or ice. Where deserts reflect much of the sun's energy back into space, dense forests trap heat and moisture. This would likely increase global temperatures in many regions, while also boosting rainfall, turning some current deserts into humid forests.
Evapotranspiration, the process of trees releasing water vapor, would flood the atmosphere with moisture. Storm systems would become more intense, with more frequent and heavier rainfall across the planet.
Monsoons, hurricanes, and cyclones might change course or intensity, creating new weather patterns we can hardly predict.
The carbon cycle would be dramatically affected. Forests act as carbon sinks, absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. Initially, this would lower greenhouse gases and could slow climate change. But as the soil saturates with organic matter and decomposition accelerates, large amounts of CO2 and methane might be released, balancing out some of the benefits.
Biodiversity would explode. Species that thrive in forested environments, birds, insects, mammals, fungi, and countless microorganisms would spread into new areas.
However, species adapted to grasslands, tundras, or deserts would be at high risk of extinction. Humans, too, would have to adapt. Cities would need to be relocated or redesigned within this global forest, and agriculture would face massive challenges without open land. Hydrology would change as well. Rivers and lakes might expand due to increased rainfall, and soil would retain more water. Flooding could become a constant threat, while some regions might see former rivers vanish as water is absorbed into the massive forest canopy. Economically, the transformation would be monumental. Traditional farming would be replaced by vertical or forest-based agriculture. Energy production might shift as large forested areas reduce sunlight for solar farms. New industries would emerge for sustainable timber, forest-based tourism, and biodiversity research. Wildfires would become a critical factor. Dense forests store enormous amounts of biomass, and lightning strikes, volcanic eruptions, or human activity could trigger mega-fires. These fires could release catastrophic amounts of carbon into the atmosphere, reversing some of the environmental gains. Even the air we breathe would be different. More trees would increase oxygen production, but the decomposition and decay of vast forest floors might produce higher levels of carbon dioxide, methane, and volatile organic compounds, affecting air quality.
Cultural and social consequences would be immense. Human settlements would shrink or adapt to the forested environment, with floating, elevated, or tree-based structures becoming the norm. Ancient trade routes and cities would vanish under the canopy, and new forest-adapted societies could emerge.
In the end, if forests covered the entire Earth, we'd face a planet that is simultaneously more alive and more challenging to inhabit. Ecosystems would flourish, yet human civilization would need to rethink its approach to land use, agriculture, and urban planning. Weather, climate, and even the composition of the atmosphere would change. This thought experiment shows how delicately balanced Earth systems are. Even a positive change, like covering the world in forests, comes with trade-offs.
challenges, and unforeseen consequences.
A planet fully blanketed in green would be a paradise in some ways, but also a wild, unpredictable, and constantly evolving environment.